A couple of Armenians talking in the world.
Hi everyone, I'm Krista Marina Apardian.
And I'm Haytoug Minasyan.
And you're listening to Haytoug Talks. Well, the first episode of Haytoug Talks, where we tell you pretty much what this podcast is all about. We also have here with us Armen Shidikyan, our wonderful executive producer.
Woo.
As you heard in our outro, we're just a couple of Armenians talking in the world and bringing you episodes on events both current and historical, on different phenomena both big and small, about the diasporan experience, both Armenian and not. And at the end of the day, if we don't talk about the Armenian experience and what that means, who will?
Exactly.
We're also the podcast of the Haytoug magazine, the official publication of the Armenian Youth Federation. The AYF is essentially an organization that works to better the present and future of all Armenians, with chapters all around the world working together towards the Armenian cause.
Right. I mean, they do social, educational, athletic, you name it. But what's different and special about the AYF, its political aspect. Its fight for justice for our ancestors, for our people today. And Haytoug has been running publications for the AYF for over 40 years with over 100 publications since its launch in 1976. And fun fact, the Hay in Haytoug isn't Armenian. It's actually a really cool term for Eastern European fedai. It's basically the Robin Hood figure of Eastern Europe when it was taken over by the Ottomans and the Habsburgs. So Haytoug, like fedai, became synonymous with the social justice warriors of the past century struggling against tyranny.
But a happy coincidence that it also has Hay in it.
Yeah, I think that's why they picked it, but I'm down.
And if you notice in our intro, we have the audio of William Saroyan saying a couple of Armenians talking in the world, which is a line from his short story called The Armenian and the Armenian, arguably Saroyan's most famous excerpt about the survival of the Armenian people that rings true now more than ever.
I should like to see any power of the world destroy this race, this small tribe of unimportant people whose history is ended, whose wars have all been fought and lost, whose structures have crumbled, whose literature is unread, whose music is unheard, whose prayers are no longer uttered. Go ahead, destroy this race. Let us say that it is again 1915, there is war in the world. Destroy Armenia. See if you can do it. Send them from their homes into the desert. Let them have neither bread nor water. Burn their houses and their churches. See if they will not live again. See if they will not laugh again. See if the race will not live again when two of them meet in a beer parlor 20 years later and laugh and speak in their tongue. Go ahead. See if you can do anything about it. See if you can stop them from mocking the big ideas of the world. You sons of bitches. A couple of Armenians talking in the world. Go ahead. Try to destroy them.
So powerful, especially the lines, burn their houses and churches, see if they will not live again. See if you can stop them from mocking the big ideas of the world. Go ahead, try to destroy them. Saroyan's piece becomes a strikingly relevant explanation of the Armenian experience time and time again. With the collapse of every stone, our unwavering resilience only heightens, whether in Western Armenia or Artsakh. In fact, we plan to focus the first few episodes on Artsakh before diving into other fascinating topics regarding Armenia, both within its borders and across our diaspora. Saroyan's excerpt also beautifully captures the goal of this podcast. Haytoug Talks is definitely important to everyone involved, to our whole crew. And for me, this podcast is special for a long list of reasons. Well, firstly, I grew up in Orange County.
That's where I'm from.
Yes, right near Haytoug.
Yeah.
We both did. And the Armenian community in OC is definitely smaller, but I think because of that, we learned the value of being in the Armenian community.
I'd agree.
More.
I definitely would agree. But what's funny is we're near Los Angeles. It's not that far from us, maybe an hour away, but we still feel like we're isolated in a far-off Midwestern town in comparison. But like many of the communities around the world that are not geographically close to a huge diaspora like Los Angeles or Moscow or Paris, this podcast can be one of the ways that they feel connected or are connected to the rest of the Armenian world.
For sure. And when you're a part of a smaller diasporan community, you often have to take initiative to discover the passion and details of your culture kind of independently.
100%. It's a journey. And as a youth who was, a big Armenophile, I educated myself and did a lot of research, a lot of late night Wikipediaing. And what was frustrating though was when it came to Armenian subjects, it was sometimes hard to find everything that I wanted to find and learn about. So I really hope that this podcast can be that opportunity to, have access to all this information for people around the world.
And it's also great that we get to learn along with our audience. Throughout these episodes, we get to hear people's perspectives for the first time with our listeners.
Oh, definitely. And being near LA, we're very fortunate because we have access to a diverse Armenian community from all around the world, which includes notable Armenian folks in all the different industries, sports, entertainment, and politics, which gives us the opportunity to chat with experts and community leaders alike.
Speaking of which, I think another struggle that we'll address is the idea of balancing two worlds. As Armenians, we've kind of been forced to become citizens of the world, but as a result of that, we're constantly balancing our Armenianness and the Armenian experience with other parts of our identity.
Right. To be Armenian is no longer just a single ethnicity or background. It's become this diverse international mix of all these different flavors of international cultures.
Literally, lots of different mixes of flavors.
Everything. It's so tasty. And and I love that we've been, able to mix with our own way of life, the Armenian side of things, and create these new versions of Armenian identity and Armenian culture with the places that we've gone and, have lived. And we're going to show you guys how diverse it can be and how interesting it is and how successful our people have been with their work everywhere.
Because many Armenians have sought refuge in different parts of the world for generations, we definitely adopt the richness of the world, Haytoug, like you said, wherever we end up going, and we add new flavors to our Armenianness along the way. And ultimately, we are stronger together. Being involved, being informed, and inspired as a community will only take us further. So this podcast is for everyone and anyone. If you have an interest in any of the various topics we are talking about and will talk about, whether you're Armenian or not, this podcast is for you.
Definitely, because the Armenian experience is not just solely the Armenian experience. A lot of other diasporan communities can relate to our experience. It was with what was just happening in Armenia, it was really hard for me, while Artsakh was under attack, to relate to many of my non-Armenian friends, this existential dread of watching your homeland burn away from abroad. But, there were those like my Palestinian and Native American friends who, understood the pain I was experiencing. So whether it's the fear of losing your homeland, trying to maintain your identity abroad, or even just appreciating your grandma's cuisine, our conversations are often widely applicable. And Ethiopians, Iranian, Arab, Greek, Armenian, all diasporans are a part of this conversation.
Definitely. And, the diasporan experience in itself is kind of universal for so many communities. And we've had these conversations about the diasporan experience in pretty much any setting,
any time. Like,
you can imagine.
You and I will be at like a party. We both grew up in Orange County. We went to the same Armenian school. We've been in AYF together our whole lives, and our friend groups are the same. So we'll be like at a random event, and everyone will be doing their thing, enjoying themselves. And then I'll turn to you and be like, "So, what do you think of the economy?" Or describe the behavior of this person. We'll get all analytical about things, and so it's really cool to continue these conversations with you online and on the air.
Exactly. We're just throwing a mic in the mix.
Literally, yeah. I mean, as you know, as Krista knows, a lot of my friends and family know, is all I do is talk about Armenia. It's the only reason why I'm good for this job. So we're really adding a record button to this whole thing. And I really hope for the future generations and for the future nerds like me who are trying to Google things about Armenia, I hope this podcast will be that source of information and discussion for you. And I couldn't always find as a youth.
Especially with everything going on in the world and in Artsakh at the moment.
Indeed. Yeah. 2020 has been a wild year, and we're going through a pandemic and racial awakening and mass unemployment. And, there's a tragedy every week. And not to mention the difficult situation that Armenia and Artsakh are in right now. So we're taking precautions in terms of COVID-19. Evidently, many of our podcasts for 2020 will be over the phone, but just like Armenians and the Artsakhi, we're going to persevere.
That's absolutely right. And if you want to join us on the journey of learning more about the context and implications of everything going on and what that means for all of us, then keep up with Haytoug Talks. We have so much coming. We're so excited to launch this. And, Haytoug and I are just a couple of Armenians
talking in the world.
a couple of Armenians talking in the room. Go ahead. Try to destroy them.